Hello. Get started in a second here. Let me check situation if I can hear myself. Got it. Check. All right. Hello. Good afternoon. This is your Friday Mountain Standard Time Sports Report. Mountain Time Sports Report. I am Don Pablo. This is going to be Rapid Rant here in a minute. But for now, talk about some Mountain Time sports. Get some Rapids. Talk about how high school. Kind of tired of the high school rep situation that's happening in sports. Sorry, I can't hear myself. Trying to do better on that part. Talk about some Colorado Rockies. When will they win a series? Maybe in June. They could technically do it if they win tonight and tomorrow in May. Weekend series with the New York Mets that the Rockies are going starting tonight. Second place, been first place much of the year, fighting out with Atlanta and Philadelphia, who are currently in first place by 2 games in the West. National League East. I get confused sometimes because baseball, they don't care about traveling. They travel all over the place, whereas NBA, NHL, they're separated by the East and Western Conference. Although maybe that's because they travel in the summer and NHL, NBA travel in the winter, which is harder. Talk about some Stanley Cup matchup is finalized. Edmonton, and forgive me, I looked it up. They're in the Mountain Time Zone, if I remember correctly. So there's that. That'll make it easier, although they are in the Avalanche division, so can't root for them that hard. But they are the last Canadian team. They are in the Mountain Time Zone, so there's that. We will be rooting for Edmonton here on this show, in this household, Denver. Because Colorado, they are home to the best college hockey team of all time, University of Denver Pioneers. Made to the Frozen Four again this year, did not win it. Champions last year, 10 total NCAA championships, and that's the Rapids 2 play a lot of their games at University of Denver Stadium over there, and it's right next to Ritchie, the Ritchie Center. It's like in the same complex, and actually, when you in halftime, they open one concession stand for Rapids 2, and it's right next to the hockey arena. And I don't even think DU basketball plays a lot of their games in that arena, but the hockey, and it's amazing the banners they have up there, the ambiance, the atmosphere of that stadium, and yeah, so Colorado, home to college hockey's best in history. And they have won, obviously, 3 cups, hopefully to extend, all since the last time Canada has won a title. And Patrick Roy, if you remember correctly, he was the last Canadian goaltender to win a Stanley Cup. For Canada, by the way. Not the last one to win a Stanley Cup, but for Canada. 1993 Montreal Canadiens. But Mountain Time Zone trying to take back the cup. It's a rematch from last year, Edmonton versus the Florida Panthers. So what we're looking at, by the way, if Indiana holds on and wins, they're up 3-2. They're going to play the next Game 6 Saturday night, 31st of May, last day of May. It could be Indiana and Oklahoma. To what it's like the 22nd market and the 47th market, Oklahoma City. 47th market made it to the finals. Then you're looking at basketball, and in hockey, Edmonton, not even in the United States, and up there in the Dust Bowl of Canada, Edmonton, not the biggest market by far, and then Miami, of course, pretty big market. And if Miami wins, I think it'll be 4 out of the last 5 Cup champions from Florida. And the Avalanche obviously getting one right there in 2022. So there's a lot of small market teams, which I'm excited for. But I hope Edmonton wins. That starts next Wednesday. So they basically got a week in between the conference finals and Stanley Cup finals. So those teams will be rested. Oklahoma in NBA, Oklahoma City clinched it also on Wednesday. So they're getting 8 days off because it doesn't start till the 5th of June, I believe. Big day for me, by the way. Big day. NBA finals and a new video game system coming out. Obviously, Nintendo Switch 2 will be coming out. I'm going to try to, I snatched one pre-order. Go pick that up. And so we'll be doing that, playing some Mario Kart, and then watching some hockey. Rapids don't play until next Saturday night, the 7th of June. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But big day next Thursday. That happens. How often do video game consoles come out? Yes, I am 40 years old, but let me say this: every year, the average age of the video game player goes up. And if you want to count mobile phones, number one, girls play video games more than boys. Women play video games more than men. Obviously, they mask themselves online for the hatred, but whatever. But the average age of the video game player goes up every year. Also older than me. So, you know what? If you want to talk about that, yes, I am a grown man playing video games, but I've been married for, I've been with my wife almost 19 years here in about 5 weeks. And got to have your hobbies. We'll be doing one of my hobbies this weekend, going on a short camping trip now that the Rapids game was postponed. Rapids game this weekend postponed to July 9th. Luckily, it's on the road in LA. And do we want to play LAFC after they have an 8-game unbeaten streak? No, I think we're lucky. So we'll talk about that more in Rapids Rant here coming up in a minute. Nuggets announced David Adelman as their coach, of course, since the last time I've logged on, streamed on the internet. I was coughing. I was sick the last time. And my wife works in a major hospital here in Denver. And we just kind of been passing this sickness between us. Me trying not to, I've been trying to not give it to any major league players because that's the worst feeling. I'm not trying to make anybody sick, make them sit out a game, make their, make them lose. And I don't want any of that. So when I'm sick, I stay at home. I don't go around, and you're in the facilities. And even if I'm not around the play, I'm still in the facilities. I don't want to pass it to the media guys, and then they'll give it to the team. I don't want any of that. So I stay away. I call it the homeless flu, but that's probably shouldn't say that. I guess the unhoused flu. Whatever. But we'll get to that more. Talk about some other stuff on maybe the Rockies need to get sick. Maybe the Rockies will win a game if they get some sickness. They get some sickness, they make their immune systems tougher. They get that first series win. After whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? So if you get the sickness, if you get the flu, if you get Colorado, it was announced today that the largest outbreak of measles is happening in Colorado right now. So I don't know how that's spreading. It'll be conjecture for any way I talk, but it feels like I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get in trouble when I say this, but I was thinking about it. Who's unvaxxed, right? Like, who's unvaxxed? I would say maybe a lot of, fanatical people. Maybe, we don't have a lot of religious sex as sext as in SECTS, religious sext in Colorado. Sorry for my too hard a word for me to pronounce, my speech impediment. So there's not a lot of religious groups, fanatical ones in Colorado. Thank the Lord. No pun intended there. Although there is a lot of mega churches in Colorado Springs. So you can argue if that is that. But all right. So sorry. Politics, religion. Sorry. But I would say, and it's anecdotal. I know some people they don't participate in that. They're religious. They go to church a lot. So if you think about it that way, the people that go to church a lot, maybe a higher percentage are unvaccinated for measles, which 100% doesn't work 100%, but it's 100% proven in the last 80 years to eradicate that disease. That's why it was at the lowest level of all time, basically eradicated. But now it's making it come back because of unvaxxed. But who is unvaxxed? Maybe people that are in church. So I would say, and you've heard, although chickenpox is kind of gone away, shingles, which you get if you've had chickenpox, you can get shingles, which is I guess mutation. It's the same virus, but it comes when you're older. But if you get it when you're younger, that's a whole different situation. But anyway, so people used to get their kids together, and I'm sure it still happens. I'm not a dad, so I don't know. I can ask parents that are my friends, but yeah. So chickenpox, they used to get them together to get chickenpox, just to get chickenpox over with, right? Chickenpox parties or something like that. It was called. I had it when I was, I think, 8 or 9. Anyway. So I'm like, how is this disease spreading? Is it from, and homeschool kids are staying away from other kids, but I would argue homeschool kids, also kind of religious, hanging out in their Sunday school and passing around measles. So Colorado, like we have the largest outbreak we've had, and it was in El Paso, and I have some cousins stationed down there in the big military base down there in El Paso. And my cousin, she was like, I'm not even bringing them to church. I'm not bringing them anywhere. And I'm like, man, these kids, I feel bad because I don't want them to be sheltered. And there's already like a homeschool stigma, homeschool stereotype. We'll talk more about that stereotype situation in a little bit on Rapid Rant. I'm sorry, I know I shouldn't rip the fans, but I'm ripping the fans. I'm ripping Rapids fans, and I know I shouldn't, but it's happening because I get a little grumpy about this because I read the message boards, I read Twitter, and all I'm connected into the Rapids social media situation, so I read a lot about it. And one thing I learned from media, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. So we gotta get out of this. I'm not sick. I'm not trying to mess people up, but don't get me sick. I don't want your measles, because it's not just measles that is spreading. It's other diseases when you're unvaxxed and you're not trying to, not as popular ones as that, like the virus, the sickness, the flu, which is stronger because of these things. So anyway, that's sorry, ADHD went off shoot on that, but I'm not trying to get anybody sick. But maybe the Rockies need to get that a little bit tougher. 9 wins. The next most is Chicago White Sox, who have 18, so double the Rockies. And I think they had the worst record, one of the worst records of all time last year. And so the Rockies were trying to beat it this year. Already got rid of their manager, Bud Black. Hopefully he's on a very long vacation somewhere with the rest of his contract money. I think he is signed till next year. So hopefully he gets all that, because, the only way Monfort's are going to learn is to spend some money to, output. Although you can't pick your owners. They're talking about that all the time. You can't pick your owners. So, what are we going to do? Can't complain about it. Let's have some constructive criticism. Although don't ruin my fellow Thomas Jefferson alumni, Kyle Freeland. Don't ruin his career, man. We don't want him to be known as that guy. Kyle Freeland, the Ernie Banks of the Colorado Rockies. That's an old school throwback reference for you baseball fans, especially Chicago Cubs fans. And I'm 40, so who knows? I mean, he stopped playing before I was even born. So anyway, Rockies 9-47, 9-47. So this time next week, there could be a 50-loss team. And what is it? I think the record number of wins is 121 by Seattle in 1998. 125. So what is that? That's only 40 wins, right? That's like 40 wins. So, man, the Rockies, who knows? Whatever. Like, just don't mess up Tovar. But we got bobblehead nights coming up. So if you're cool with that and you like bobblehead nights, there's that. And I think they have college color hats, like Rockies hats this season. That's their big draw. Other than the Yankees last week, who the Rockies had a chance to win the series. They won the first game, but the Yankees came back in the second game Saturday, 13-1, when the Rapids were playing and winning. During the rain delay, we watched some Rockies. We talked about a lot of different sports. There was LAFC was on, and who else was playing? We were watching during the rain delay, and it was a good crowd. It was 15,000 plus at DSG Park for that game against St. Louis. Don't have a team nickname yet, but I guess that's it. What else do we got? Diamondbacks, they're in fourth place. They're after their surprise World Series appearance a couple years ago. They're coming back to the mean, although they're 7 games out. Nothing's over for them. Maybe they're not sellers in the trade market yet. Although Dodgers not doing what they did last year. Although maybe they're just saving their players and their motivation for maybe the second half of the season to try to win the World Series again. So there's that. Denver Nuggets real quick. Just reading headlines. We don't know. And I was talking about this. We picked a coach before we picked a GM. Maybe, who knows if Edelman might have got other job offers and Josh Kroenke just want to lock him up. But so that's happening. Edelman's a coach. Yes, he had a good, it turned out to be 17-game look at the end of the season. Last 3 regular season matchups, and then 14 games in the playoffs, which a lot of teams don't get 14 games in the playoffs. And Edelman, game 4 and 5 losses for the Nuggets. Lost the series, of course, but we made it a lot farther than the Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns accomplished this year. So I'll take that for the Nuggets. We have a unicorn in Nikola Jokic, and before he retires, let's try to get another one. Let's try to get 2, but we'll see what happens with the front office. See what happens with trades, and I look at headlines every day in the NBA offseason because is there going to be change in the Nuggets? A lot of people say there has to be. A lot of people say, where's the bench? Maybe that was the biggest criticism at the end of the season for the Nuggets because MPJ kind of broke down. Aaron Gordon hurt at the end. Russell Westbrook had surgery on his hand. Maybe that's why he was missing those layups in the playoffs and at the end of the season. And I'm sure Nikola Jokic needed a rest, obviously. So I wake up and I read, NBA headlines. Oh no. And I don't want to say the wrong thing, But Zion Williamson was sued, so it's a civil loss. It's a civil situation, not a criminal situation. He over allegations of rape and years of abuse. Um, Selfishly, as a purely sports take. All right, I'm not talking about the rest of it. Maybe that lessens the market for a trade. Maybe that motivates New Orleans Pelicans to get Zion out of there. Maybe it lessens, I don't know. Number one pick, obviously, he's probably still has a lot of value. How old is he? So he was 2018, so 7 years. What is he, 25, 26? I don't know. He still got some, maybe because of the conditioning issues, he has some potential left. Although, is he playing the same position? He's not taking, we're not trading Aaron Gordon for him, right? I don't think they would do that, but maybe it would be easier, for the New Orleans Pelicans to Aaron Gordon. I don't know if he's could be sold. But maybe the Pelicans just have to go down to the studs again after Anthony Davis, after Zion, after Chris Paul left. New Orleans basketball. I'm sorry, man. They had this Jazz, best name in sports, and then it goes to Utah, where all the jazz that happens there. And sorry, I know this is Mountain Time. I shouldn't make fun of the teams in the Mountain Time zone, but it just happens to to Utah because and you just stole the Colorado Mammoth, and my friend, we'll just say IJR. He was Mr. Mammoth. He was the guy. He's like on the big TV, the scoreboard every game because he dressed up in an awesome. It was a party every Mammoth game, and now we got to live with the Utah Mammoth coming to Ball Arena twice or sometimes 3 times a year in the NHL, and the Mammoth have won titles in that sport too. So obviously, if you're one of the big 4 sports, you can do whatever you want because the Cleveland Indians changed to the Guardians, who were a women's roller rink team in Cleveland. So, the baseball team stole it, although they had spiders right there. Although maybe just stay with the Indians and change the logo, but whatever. Or change it to the Tribe and change the logo. But it's weird how dang it. We live in a society where, you take the attributes, you take the traits of your leaders, we'll say, and for the reddest of states, Ohio, to get away from that logo because of public relations. Whatever. Maybe that's my reddest stance. Probably that would be my most right-wing stance is to why did we change that logo? I love that logo. But if you look at me, obviously maybe a little Native American. So I'm biased in that way. Anyway, although I do have a lot of memorabilia such as that I wear, and will be wearing until they fall off me. They will be wearing until, guys use socks until there's holes in them. Underwear, the guys are known for, like in a wallet until it falls apart. That will be for all my Cleveland Indians gear for the rest of my life. And I do have a lot of fitted hats, although this long hair doesn't help for them to fit my head. But I do wear my Cleveland Indian hats occasionally around, and I got a lot of those actually. I bought a lot right when we knew got the news broke that they were changing the logo. So there's that. But anyway, will we take Zion Williamson, who is now Me Too'd, old reference? I would. I don't know. Yes and no. We'll see. He's young. Will it help to get the Nuggets younger? Will it help? Can it even help the Nuggets in any way? Would we rather have him than to go to the Suns or something for some old guys on that team? Suns need a change of pace too. People talking about Kevin Durant maybe coming to the Nuggets. I don't know. Yeah, do we need 3-point shooting? Yes, but do we need another 36-year-old? Do we need another former Oklahoma City Thunder player? Oh, if we get a former one, I'll take Steven Adams. If you ask me, he's a free agent, but the Nuggets don't have, unless they do sign and trade, they don't have money for that. And by the way, we're going to make the Rockets better by trading, by them giving us a big man. What are we going to send them out? That'll just make Houston better, unless, yeah, he has to. It would be have to sign with the Houston Rockets to make that happen. So I don't know. Nuggets. It's a complicated situation. The draft is happening pretty soon. Obviously, Dallas Mavericks #1 pick. So we'll see. Although that's my favorite thing, and watching, as I say, watching the hot stove of the summer league when trades get made and after the draft. Although trades get made during the draft too, but I'm not. At least we're not fans of watching the draft as a Nuggets fan. More fan of what happens, after it and during it, and maybe we'll see some trades. But the Nuggets don't have any draft picks either for the foreseeable future. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Although we do have Jokic, we do have Jamal Murray, MPJ, Aaron Gordon. Don't forget him. Russell Westbrook is a free agent, but maybe he'll run it back with the Nuggets because I think where's last option? We're going to get him as close to a Larry O'Brien trophy than anybody. And the Avalanche, at least the Dallas Stars, lost in the Western Conference Finals to Edmonton. So there you go. All right. Let's start with the Rapids rant. We'll get to that right now. What up? Welcome. And here we go. This is Rapids Rant. I am Don Pablo. Thanks for joining us today. That was Coach Chris Armas talking about the Rapids 2-1 defeat in Portland in the midweek game. And the Rapids had it. And I was thinking about it, and I had one of these moments, and it's like the day after, one of your core moments happen in your life. And I hate to say it like this, like the day after, like a grandparent passes, or or something maybe doesn't go in your way in life, and you wake up And maybe that's the first thing you think about. Um, and that's kind of what happened to me on a much smaller scale. Much smaller. Sports matter. An inch in the mile that is your life. Compared to compared, uh, I don't. If you get blackout drunk, sometimes which hasn't happened to me in a very long time. A very long time. And you're at the party, you're having fun, you're having a great time. That was the first half of the Rapids Portland game. Rapids up 1-0 at halftime. And I'm just having a fun time, having a great time. And then all of a sudden, you wake up the next day, and today it is wake up, text my wife, good morning, sunshine. That's what I text her every day. Good morning, sunshine. So she knows I wake up at some kind of reasonable hour. And because I gotta just trying to prove to her that I'm waking up at a reasonable hour. Anyway, the second thing on my mind when I woke up the day after the Rapids game on Thursday morning this week, oh man, what happened? What happened? And so, so sometimes, and it happened to me one time. I woke up. I don't remember how I got to this place. It's happened to me before. Maybe I woke up in a strange woman's house. I don't recognize it. How did I get here? What is happening? Who is this person? Um, did not know their name. That was a rough one. Figure that out real quick and get out of there. Uh, then you have to go to the doctor, get a blood test. And things happen. So that's kind of what the Rapids game felt like to me yesterday. Having a party. Then we blacked out. Then I blacked out. Then I woke up. Luckily, it wasn't in a police station, right? And I'll liken it to this. Uh, you know, uh, bail people out of jail. My uncle calls me. He's from, we'll just say Arizona, far away. Don, you have to bail out my worker. He was at a conference in town in Denver, and now you have to go to Denver County and bail him out. And I'm like, all right, well, first of all, what is the crime? DUI. All right, DUI. All right, rough one. So go get him because I'm not bailing people out of anyways. If it's worse, get him. There was no injuries, just a rough one. You can't get a DUI. First of all, you can get a DUI on a scooter, but that is not what happened. Pick that guy up. My wife is she's a social worker, but she's a therapist. When you get a master's degree in social work, you do those classes. So she started talking. The guy starts crying, and that's what I felt like doing Thursday morning after the Rapids game. And so it was kind of like that, and then you got to stay at my house because I don't want to, what crime? We got to stay in my house for a little bit. We're taking him home. We got to get him some water. Wait for his people to come get him. That guy had a rougher day than anybody. So I was liking it to that, man. You had a great first half. Everything was going Rapids way in Portland, a place where they historically has not gone well for the Rapids. And I think it was 6 out of 7 the Rapids have lost to Portland. And there's just, man, they were doing well. And as Armis said, it was Sam Bassett, right? I forget. Sam Bassett hit the underside of the bar. It bounced out. Portland got the breakaway. They score to tie the game. Then a couple minutes later, Wayne Frederick, our number 2 pick in the draft last year, gets a red card, and I'm sure that he'll say it was a dumb mistake. He didn't time the tackle right. It was a straight red. He had just come in, I think, 15 minutes earlier. Second sub off the bench. And it just Rapids down 10 men. Portland scores again. Anthony, who, as the announcer said, has the Rapids number, and he does. And he scores, and the Rapids just, scrambling. And they had, a couple half chances. Kevin Cabral missed one. And then Georgie had another chance it was actually before Sam Bassett, and he went down with an injury. So it's like, man, it's like your friend telling you what you did when you're in your blackout state. Like maybe you're in trouble with somebody. Like, oh, and then that happened. Oh, and then they got a red card. Oh, and then all right, well at least they're tied, so maybe we can get out of here. No, then they lost. Then it's like, oh man, they're playing right home. But at least we get to. And then Georgie got hurt. He came off. He was subbed, and it looked like they said he just had cramps in his hamstring. Hopefully that's the case. But the Rapids have 10 days to work that out before the June 7th game at home. But the good news is Rapids 3 games at home in a row at DSG Park. They get rest between the games. And, for the bad vibes that came out of the match, whatever doesn't kill the season only makes the Rapids stronger. Obviously, Wayne Frederick being out for that June 7th match, going to be tough. But as I said earlier in Mountain Time Sports Report, this is Rapids Rant. Find us on all podcasting situations. We do live stream as we are doing right now on this Friday afternoon edition of the show on Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe on those two platforms, and you can watch me live. And I was planning on doing this yesterday, Thursday. Didn't work out. Today is happening Friday afternoon, Friday drive time situation. I hope you're not watching me when you're driving. Although you can just put your phone down, have me on the speakers. That'll be cool. We got a couple of viewers here on YouTube and Twitch. So there's that. What's up? Thank you for tuning in. Find us on social media platforms: Blue Sky, X, Facebook, Instagram. You can find us. It's not Rapids Rant. It's Don Pablo. Rocky Coors over there. Story of that name, not for this podcast. I am Don Pablo. Thanks for joining me. Host Emeritus Caberto out there helping us out, putting the podcast up on those platforms to listen to that if you just want the audio portion of this show. So Georgie gets 10 days. They're talking about him getting called up to the U.S. men's national team. I'm fine with that too. I don't know if that's happening now after the injury that he sustained. Maxu was a hero in that game. Nico Hansen, third straight start. And I think he played really well. Maybe one of the goals he got out of position. But overall, the last 3 matches that he started, 2 clean sheets, and then this loss in Portland, he's done well. He's been on the bench a bunch of games. Adam Beaudry back up this midweek game and Saturday night victory against St. Louis. And, maybe Hansen has earned another start. Maybe he's taking a starter because I don't think Zach Steffen is going to be back for a while. The Gold Cup, which he is in the United States men's training camp, I don't think it might not end until July 6th. And if he's on the roster for the entire tournament, if the United States makes the final, July 6th. So potentially he's not going to be with the Rapids until, what is that? It's 5 matches. Coming back on, what is that? I think they play the 7th. Let me look real quick. The 9th. They play the 9th. So he'll be gone. Austin, Orlando, Galaxy at home, the Revolution on the road, and then Kansas City back for the July 4th Fest at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, the biggest fireworks show in Colorado. So there's that. But if he's gone for all those, he'll be back for Champions Cup finalist LAFC. Nope, they're and the reason the Rapids aren't playing this weekend is LAFC is playing Club America in a huge match to make it to the Club World Cup. If they make the Club World Cup, it's a $10 million match, by the way. 9.55 guaranteed TV money, whatever, just to participate in the tournament. You win a spot, participate in the FIFA Club World Cup, 9.55 guaranteed, and that's not counting if they win or if they go to the final. And obviously, they get judged 1 through 24, I think, teams. So depending on where they end up, they'll get more prize money. So LAFC, it's a big match, $10 million. And I don't think they make a big deal out of it on like the NBA mid-season cup or whatever they call that. It's like the Emirates Cup now is sponsored. But yeah, the NBA and the winners of that, like the lower guys on the team, that's a lot of money for them. And I'm sure that they divide the prize money. Some of it goes to the club and some of it goes to the players. Some of those players on the bottom of the roster, that's a lot of money for them. Maybe even match their current year salary. So I'm sure LAFC is going to be playing hard to make it to the Club World Cup. Obviously, Seattle Sounders and Inter Miami already in that tournament, and LAFC, MLS could get their third team in there. So there's that. That's why the Rapids aren't playing this weekend. But they could be without Zach Steffen, who was hurt, but he's in the national team training camp. And they sent home the United States men sent home another goalie for being hurt, and Steffen stayed. So, it's looking good for him to stay. He was on the team in the earlier competition this year. So if he is even backup, hopefully he gets a start or two, or is the starter going into the World Cup next year. I hope that would be awesome because I'll be down for some Rapids, watching Rapids in the World Cup. The Rapids might be without him for that, but so far, Nico Hansen stepped up, handled business, 2 clean sheets. And this week, a pretty strong outing for Colorado. So we'll feel good. And like I said earlier in the Mountain Time Sports Report, because we're doing this live, I talked about Mountain Time Zone teams earlier. Excuse me. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens for the Rapids on that front, and I feel good about that him being replaced. The tougher part is Georgi Mihailovic. There is no injury report this weekend because they're not playing, so we'll see how that looks next Friday when MLS comes out with the injury report. I'm sure there will be a practice session to talk to Chris Armas during the week next week and see what's up with him. They won't give too much away, but Georgie, definitely need him. End of that match without him, it was rough, and it looks like Rapids will be in a pickle if they don't have Georgie on the field at this point. But yeah, Gold Cup until July 6th for Club and Country. I mean, this is Rapids, and obviously we love the Rapids, but I'm also United States in to watch the United States soccer team succeed, as I have watched the Rapids win MLS Cup, would be something, right? But the other thing I was thinking of is like the Rapids lose. By the way, the Rapids, after there's such amazing first half of the game, there's like game feeds on Reddit, Twitter, X, whatever, and I like Blue Sky. Blue Sky, there seems to be level-headed people there. But I was hanging out with my high school friends a little while ago, and we're like, all right, it's poker night, tournament style. And it's weird because when you do high school friends, maybe you're like back in the role you were in high school, right? And maybe this is hard to believe, but my high school experience wasn't the best. But I know I'm good at poker. I for sure didn't peak in high school, for the record. For the record. Not to, hate on anybody that does. I'm glad I'm not dating. And for the record, I'm glad I'm not dating the same girl, although it was a good experience. I'm glad I met my wife. Much better. Anyway, so you go back into this role, and I don't want to be stuck in it, and I don't stick people in this role. And because at this point it's almost 24 years since I've been there, and people grow. If you haven't grown, if you haven't learned in that long of a time, it's like come on, like you got to give people respect. You got to give for their life experience, for what they've gone through, and I try to do that for everybody in this world, depending on how they treat me. Earn my respect, earn your respect, from people. And having a public job and putting myself out there, in the public, it's kind of different. But and it's weird because some people say they listen, and then I figure I'm like, you don't. There's no way you listen to what I'm saying, like. And I'm like, all right, I thank everybody, and it's fine. I don't care if you listen to me or not. It don't matter. But it's funny when I figure it out, and then I can use it to my advantage, especially when you're playing poker, because they put me in the old role of Don and dumb jock, whatever. But then they're surprised when I'm playing poker, and I get to we're hours in at this point, because tournaments, you're supposed to, when you have a tournament, it's a tournament. It's not cash game. Tell people I'm leaving, in a half an hour. Don't leave if you win a giant pot. Don't leave the next hand after you win a giant pot, because that at least give people a chance to win their money back a couple times, right? So it's funny because one guy kept telling Don, I don't know what you have, Don. I'm like, and after the third time, I'm like, but isn't that the point of this game? Isn't that the point? Yeah. All right. Maybe that's the whole thing. Like you don't want people to read you. Like if I wait to play something that I'm just gonna win, you're never gonna get a bluff through. And but if you keep saying you need to like leave at midnight, you need this whole thing to be over at midnight. I'm like, all right, we're playing a tournament, man. Like, didn't quit. Like, you can leave at any time. We're playing for a lot of money, but you can leave at any time, man. There wasn't a agreement to end it at 12, and then you get your prize money based off of that. Anyway, it was funny how Don can surprise you at some point. And you listen to me, it's not surprising. And I'll say it like this: we had a sales lady at an old radio station, and I don't know why she said it, but she's like, Don, can you believe Don's married? Can you believe Don's married? And like the third time, I'm like, this is what we open with? Like, this is what we open with to introduce people to me. And finally, I did not do this in front of a client. I did it in front of another co-worker. And I said, can you believe this lady's not made a sale? And she stopped doing it after that. But look, man, like, how many times are you going to make fun of me that way? But and by the way, why are you trying to put me in that role of not being married? Like, you can't, I don't know how to talk to women or something. Like, what is? I can't get a job. Like, I can't talk to people, whatever. So it was funny when I did that. And I'm like, hey man, that's the point of this game. But my point is of getting in this role that you're stuck in is the Rapids had such a good first half. All right. Everybody's rosy, everybody's happy. They lose the game. And the Rapids have come back to win games this year. They obviously not really gave it away, but they lost. Portland came back at home. Rapids have always had a tough time of playing there. But then you go on the internet, a same old crying. Like, This is not same old. Like, people change, people grow, people are different. You use and by the way, especially in sports, use the resources that are available to you. And every time somebody says I'm fiscally conservative, I'm like, everybody's fiscally conservative, because other than the government, who can change the debt ceiling every 6 months, every 9 months, you can't spend more than you have. Now, and by the way, with the amount of people living paycheck to paycheck in this country, you can't spend more than you have, and that's true for, some people say the 99%. So we are where we are. All right, it's not same old Cronky. It's stop. By the way, stop shoehorning your own team into that. You should be hopeful that. And by the way, we made a top 4 Leagues Cup tournament last year. Like, what is same old? Like, last year we did well above your expectations, if that's what you say. Same old Cronky every year. Like, you don't know what I have in poker. Stop putting me at those expectations of whatever Don is. Have a conversation of where I've been in my life, high school people, because I give you the benefit of the doubt. I don't know where exactly you've been since 2001, and maybe you don't know where I've been since 2001. Dating myself, but I don't put Cronky or the Rapids or any of it. And if you want to put me guilty, I never thought the Denver Nuggets would win an NBA championship, and here we are. The expectations are different now. Rapids' expectations are different now. I'm sorry, and I'm gonna get in trouble because a lot of friends and family listen to this, but don't put people in a box. All right. Yappy, look at Yappy. Yappy's a starter now. Scoring goals. Handle the business. Don't put people in a box, because they're going to change. All right? They're going to be different. Just as a soccer team is different in February as it is here in June, and the next match will be exactly halfway through the MLS season. Rapids have done good this year. They had a rough first part of May, second part of May, very well. Back in playoff expectations. And maybe the Rapids are a 500 team this year. Prove me wrong. They played more games on the road than at home. Next 3 at home, we'll see what they're made of. Austin already beat them once this year. Orlando, see what they got. That's going to be a couple teams that are trying to get on top of the table, and definitely playoff teams. Orlando coming to Denver, Commerce City, whatever. LA Galaxy can't win a game to save their life. Champions, the worst start. And they're going to be halfway through their season at that point too. Sorry for getting angry. Sorry, I'm just complaining. But stereotypes, get away from stereotypes. Yes, there are stereotypes for a reason, but individual situations are also there. People break out of them sometimes. Maybe most times. World change. Got to adapt. Right? And then New England at the end of June. July 4th, Kansas City. They're having a rough one. So Rapids beat who they're supposed to beat, the dregs of the Western Conference, compete against the other playoff teams. And by the way, 2-1 on the road. I mean, it's not like it's not 4 goals like last year. They did pretty well. Our best player left because of injury. And we got a red card. And that's the first time on the season the Rapids played down a man for any amount of time, because Stefan got his red card right at the end of the match when he did earlier in the year. So I'm not putting the Rapids in this box. All right. And Rapids fan, by the way, if that's your only, you don't even need to put it. You don't even need to write that. And I'll complain like I did last year is after the first game of the Broncos rookie quarterback Bo Nix, the guy goes on the Broncos radio network and he's like, I don't see it. We got to get rid of him. And I'm like, it's one game. And by the way, they lost it on a field goal. They didn't lose because of the quarterback. And he was a rookie and it was his first game. And I'm like, what are we talking? And it happened last year. Coach Armis, the Rapids lost a bit. They're like, fire. I'm like, it's the first game. What are we doing? What are you like? Is that the only thing? Like, and by the way, you put that on the internet. Like, you went out of your way to type that out and put that on the internet. Okay. Thanks. Also, thanks for being a fan. I appreciate you listening to me here on Rapids Rant. like, all right. Maybe, I don't know. When I worked at one of my sports when I was younger, they're like, you can't just say they suck. Like, that's the whole like Jim Rome thing. You can't just say they suck. Like you call up to us, say, all right, where do you go from here? They suck. Okay. How is that constructive? How are you gonna make them better? How are we gonna do it? First thing Armis said in his press conference, believe it or not, this will make us better. I believe it. And I know Wayne Frederick, he doesn't have a lot of appearances for the Rapids. I don't think he's going to make that mistake again. I think he's going to learn from it, from the speed of MLS. So, all right, fans, be better. That's all. Like, I know you're spending money. You can say whatever you want. Like, but don't you want to be better? Like, that's the whole thing. When I was younger, I travel out of the country, and first thing I noticed is like, why is this cleaner? Why are these countries cleaner? Like, people complain about trash on the ground, and I'm like, we got to do better as a country, United States. So, and I still feel that way, by the way. Like, we got to do better. Clean up the trash. Don't throw stuff. Like, I'm going camping. When I was in Boy Scouts 100 years ago, leave the campground better than you found it. Take your trash out. Put it in a trash can. We went on a backpacking trip with my friends, and one of my friends was trying to like, just backpack's heavy. You want to carry the lightest stuff, all that stuff. He was like trying to throw stuff away, and I'm like, no, we're not leaving. We don't leave stuff on the trail. And I carried it, and then I poured out. I was like, we got to. I'm not carrying water. We're pouring it out. Like this. Drink some water. We're pouring it out. And I made him do it because I'm like, we're definitely not leaving a plastic jug on the. Anyway, so let's be better. Let's be better, fans. Be better. Post it on social media. Obviously, write whatever you want, but come on. You can't call up a radio station and say they suck and then hang up and be like, all right, you get laughed at. But positive things did happen to the Rapids this week. Obviously, they went 1-1. They won in the last 7 days. They've won once and they've lost once. So there's good things. Yappy happened. Other than that, a Rapid who is signed to a senior deal, although he's in Orange County FC. Bryce Jamerson called up to the U19 men's national team. So there's that. Another Rapid will be representing them on the big stage. Zachary Campanolo, Rapids 2, and Colton Swan called up to U18 teams for the UEFA Friendship Cup. There's another one. Maybe it was last week. Nope, that's what happened. And then Zach Steffen called up. So we feel good about Zach Steffen being gone. I do. I was talking to Berto, and the media people do now that he has a couple of these clean sheets, and defensive MVP Andres Maxu handling business back there. And I think our defense is still cohesive. It was just, we were down a man, and we were trying to go forward to score a goal to at least get a result in Portland. And that's a lot of the Rapids losses. Sometimes they make it worse. They make it seem worse than it is because they're chasing that result, and it's closer than it is. So I would argue that too. But like I said, Rapids off this weekend. You can watch, the playoff match between Club America and LAFC. It's on DAZN app You can watch it for free. You just have to create an account. But yeah, LAFC, if you root for the MLS, they get another victory over Liga MX. You can watch that on the Zone. Just create an account. It'll be free if you have the Roku, or I think you actually do it on Xbox if you have that. They're on that. I don't know about Roku televisions and all that stuff. You can watch it on the internet too. So there's that. You can watch it. I will be camping. I will not be watching any kind of soccer. And today is actually the first day without any NHL or playoffs. Month and a half, 6 weeks, right? So going outside, hanging out with the wife again. Although she likes basketball, so we will watch. She'll watch the playoffs of that. But yeah, go outside, get some fresh air. Excited for that. Hope Indiana can close out the New York Knicks Saturday night, and we'll get some Oklahoma City, Indiana NBA Finals next week. 47th market and the 22nd market. So there's that. Both Midwestern. So it'll be exciting. NBA, exactly what they wanted. Although last year they got a Boston Celtics and they had a LA Lakers in 2020. So they've already won their titles in the last 10 years, and the NBA can have that, as their big market situations in the last 10 years. So, but the good news, by the way, before I sign off here on Rapid Rant, Mountain Standard Time Sports Report. Find us on Twitch and YouTube live. Subscribe there. Click on notifications. You can be told when I'm live and watch. The good thing about Oklahoma is everybody leaves Oklahoma. All right, nobody wants to stay in Oklahoma. And maybe I will be proven wrong, and I hope I'm not. But because it will be the 7th different champion in the last 7 years in the NBA. Oklahoma might be set up for a mini run here, but the good news is everybody leaves Oklahoma. Even Russell Westbrook left Oklahoma. Kevin Durant, first time he could, got out. James Harden, first chance he could, went to Houston. Steven Adams, as I said, Serge Ibaka, everybody left. Everybody wants to leave. Even Billy Donovan had a good thing there in Oklahoma. He went to Chicago. He's still up there for the Bulls. Everybody wants to leave Oklahoma. I don't want to go back. I've been there. I was stationed there for a little bit, and yeah, I'm good. I'm good. If I never go back, I could say, just check that state off the list. I've seen it. I've seen enough to know what's happening there. It's the same as North Texas until you get to Les Dust Bowl in Kansas and get some corn over there or whatever they have farmed up. But there's that. There's that. And yeah, that's going to do it. I try to end on a positive note for the Rapids. Let's do more of the first half and less of the second half of the game against Portland. Constructively, yes, we did well. Some things, like our defense, they played well until, they were just weathered on. They were just under fire. They had to batten down the hatches, and it was rough. But overall, Rapids trending in a better direction than they were at the start of May. Get to June in playoff position. Couple items this week. Obviously, CONCACAF Champions Cup happening on Sunday. Cruz Azul versus Vancouver. That's in Olímpico Universitario Estadio in Mexico. America plays in Los Angeles at LAFC at the BMO Stadium. Or BMO, whatever. So there's that. Club America played in Los Angeles twice last year. That was at the Galaxy Stadium. And they played at Snapdragon in San Diego. So they are not newbies to California. Maybe we'll give the edge to Club America making the FIFA World Cup. And for the record, I'm glad the Rapids don't have to play LFC on a heater, man. 8 undefeated in MLS play for LAFC. Oh, so there's that. There's your Rapids rant for today, the end of May. I think the Rapids did well. Did well in March. Did well in April. Then we put together May, June, playing a couple teams that are beatable. Rapids. Hopefully Georgie gets healthy, and the Rapids will keep on a positive upslope. Playoff team situation. Hopefully host a playoff game. Not against the number one team in the league this year. I'm Don Pablo. Thank you for listening, soccer fans. If you've listened this far, God bless you, and make sure to take care of yourselves and each other. I'm Don Pablo for Rapids Rant. Enjoy your weekend off, Rapids fans and team members. Good day. Aye.